So, welcome everybody to our ABOO leadership learning session. I'm Lucy McCarraher. I'm the founder of Rethink Press and Book Magic AI, and it's great to have you all here today. We are very lucky to have with us the wonderful Penny Hopkinson, who is, above all, the queen of business manuals. And if that sounds boring in any way, it is so not with Penny. So Penny started life as a journalist, and after 12 years as a Middle East socio-economics correspondent, Penny founded Manual Writers International. And today she reimagines the dull operations manual into dynamic knowledge sharing environments. In 2011, Penny was made a companion of the British Franchise Association, and her book, an international bestseller called Manual Magic, is endorsed by the BFA and its CEO Pip Wilkins, which is very impressive. So, Penny, welcome. It's lovely to have you here. And I will hand over to you. How are we doing? Yes,
There we
perfect.
go. Almost perfect. Um,
Oops, we've gone back to the
yes, I think it's suddenly disappeared.
it,
There we go.
there we go.
There we
Perfect. That
go.
is lovely. Excellent.
Lovely. Well, welcome everyone to Manual Magic. Engage, protect, and grow your business. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces and so many new ones. Today, I'm going to show you how you can transform a dull, text-heavy operations manual into a manual that's fit for purpose for the mid-2020s. By the end, you'll walk away with a fresh perspective on the role of the manual processes in your organization's success. But before we start, one attendee will win a signed copy of Manual Magic. All you need to do is put in chat a sentence or two, what your business is, how you might implement the Manual Magic strategy in your business, and the difference it could make. Lucy and I will pick the winner. If you want to be in with a chance, please connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already done so, and DM Manual Magic Strategy. That way, if you're the winner, you will be able to be contacted direct. So let's dive in and discover how to unlock the true potential of your operations manual. Well, first of all, has anyone faced the problem knowing where to start? How do you create a manual? Put yes or no in the chat. The challenge of creating an operations manual from a large amount of information can be overwhelming. How do you take all your intellectual property and organize it into a cohesive, structured manual? If you haven't anything documented, where do you start? How do you get all that knowledge and expertise out of your head and into a manual? Do you have a manual? Is your manual up to date? Is your manual out of date? Let me know in the chat. Then, of course, we have blank sheet syndrome. We've all been there staring at a blank sheet of paper or a screen today, unsure of how to begin writing, waiting for that inspiration to come. For many people, it feels daunting to start metaphorically putting pen to paper, especially when you're documenting processes and procedures. It is a specialized task. You actually have to visualize that procedure in your mind's eye and write what you see. Not everyone can do this. Let me know in chat if you're a pro or a prodigy. Do you find this difficult or easy? The key to a successful operations manual is to have absolute clarity on who will be using it. Let's take franchising. In fact, business format franchising is a perfect example of how to create an operations manual. This is because an ethical franchise cannot operate without transferring the franchisor's know-how and business system into a comprehensive manual which needs to be communicated to franchisees. The manual must contain everything the franchisee and their teams need to know to operate their business successfully and profitably. And this takes time you probably don't have before launching your business. The manual must be current, up to date, and relevant. This is also one of the terms and conditions in the contract. A franchisee must have access to an operations manual from day one. Little wonder that this is the ideal model for an operations manual. Now, you may think the main target audience is franchisees, in some cases people call them franchise owners, who buy a franchise and a territory with the aim of developing a profitable business in their territory. But there are other audiences. There are master franchisees or master franchises and brand partners who also play a critical role. They develop and oversee the entire franchise network in a region or country. They provide the strategic direction and support to the individual franchise owners. Licensing is similar. Engineers, of course, need to provide technical expertise. Senior management oversees the overall direction and strategy of the business system. Team members are the backbone of a franchise or any other business. They are responsible for day-to-day operations running smoothly at each location, and their hard work is essential to the success of the business. So understanding the needs and responsibilities of key stakeholders is crucial when developing an effective operations manual. Now, these are some of the businesses with whom I've created operations manual. And we've developed a tried and trusted process since about 1987. Of course, the process of manual creation has changed and evolved with each client over nearly, I would say, 40 years. Let's take a look at the Corporation of Lloyd's of London. This is where it all began during my proof of concept process to launch my new business, Manual Writers International, in 1986. The corporation serves as the regulatory and administrative body for the Lloyd's marketplace, overseeing its operations and ensuring compliance with established rules and standards. It facilitates transactions between insurance buyers and sellers, maintaining market integrity and protecting policyholders. By providing centralized services, it supports underwriters in managing complex risks across various sectors globally, making Lloyd's a leading hub for specialized insurance solutions. So before launching my business, Manual Writers, I needed proof of concept. This came in the form of the Underwriting Agents Procedures Manual. My brief: to create a procedures manual to underpin the Lloyd's Act and multiple bylaws that were ever changing. Back then, the internet and digitization was in its infancy. Everything was documented on word processors with limited formatting. There were many blank pieces of paper from my corporation colleagues, so they needed coaching and mentoring to tease out the information needed, to translate all that legalese into text that could be easily understood without taking away the meaning. I have to say it was a baptism of fire, but no manual since has seemed so daunting. Then there was Champneys, and that had just been purchased by Guinness Enterprises. The aim was to franchise globally. I had no idea what franchising was. Luckily, Stoy Hayward, now BDO Stoy Hayward, were the franchise consultants, and through them I quickly understood the magic of business format franchising. As a former quality correspondent for the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply, the combination of franchising and total quality management was extremely powerful. I'd cut my quality teeth on BS 5750, now ISO 9001, and Kaizen, the Japanese concept of making small improvements. Then came Pronto-Print with about 160 centres. They had an out-of-date operations manual. It was no longer fit for purpose. My brief was to update it with a considerable amount of new material. One of their owned managed centres was going through BS 5750 certification. So the marriage of franchising and TQM principles worked perfectly. And finally, the AA driving school. It started with a blank piece of paper. We produced content for their LMS system and 20 hard copies for the departmental heads. This was the first time we digitized content and was the trailblazer for future operations manuals. Let me know in the chat if your manual is paper-based, digital, or on some kind of LMS or dynamic knowledge sharing platform. So, key elements of your strategy are a tailored business case, a dedicated task force, and the digitization or the digital transformation of manuals. The tailored business case will ensure your intellectual property is presented in a user-friendly format. The dedicated task force will make sure users of your manual can accurately copy your original business model. Digitally transforming your manuals will allow you to make amendments quickly without waiting for major revisions. This strategy will position you to effectively execute your business objectives. Construct a tailored business case focusing on the company's specific needs. But you need to consider carefully the return on investment and efficiency gains, offering a clear picture of benefits of all this transformation. So over the years, I've developed a three-step system. I call it the Manual Magic three-step system. It's a proven approach to building a comprehensive operations manual that captures your company's know-how and processes. The first step is to create a detailed blueprint of your business system, involving all stakeholders like team members, franchisees, IT, the designers. Without a skeleton, your content won't hold up. The second step is to develop content, populate the structure with clear, engaging, and detailed instructions for your core processes, harnessing the expertise of your team. You can use AI ethically to support the content creation process, but don't rely on it entirely. Your team's know-how is essential. The third step is to draft, polish, and publish. Refine the content until it speaks directly to your audience, then publish it in an easily accessible format that can be updated in real time. This is the way to ensure your business manual is comprehensive, user-friendly, and an effective way to transfer your company's know-how. So taking these steps, the first one are the building blocks, the main categories. These form the structure we create for 95% of our operations manuals. It loosely follows the balanced scorecard approach, honed and sharpened in collaboration with my clients throughout nearly 40 years. Rather a long time. Now, this is a flat plan of the high-level overview of detailed structure and content we aim to create. So we start mapping out the categories, which was the previous slide. Then we map out the sections, the topics, which are the standard operating procedures, often known as SOPs or SOPs. And then we have the tools and resources based on all the available intellectual property held digitally and perhaps even paper-based. These are placed in the appropriate categories so that we can start to build up a picture of the business system. When we're satisfied that we have everything included, you can then perform a gap analysis to identify what you have and what you still need to create. This then provides us with the detailed project plan so we can identify who will be responsible for delivering the type of content we need to create, with timelines for the separate deliverables. And now we come to developing content. Of course, great content is the foundation of any digital experience. It's important to put careful thought and planning into the content you develop. Good content should be informative, engaging, and aligned with your audience's needs. When developing content, consider factors like tone, style, structure, and information architecture. Conduct user research to understand your audience and what they're looking for. Craft content that's easy to scan and digest, with clear headings and short paragraphs. Optimize content for search and accessibility to reach the widest possible audience. Continuously review and refine your content based on user feedback and performance data. Your team members are actually your greatest asset. They are a goldmine of information because they operate at the coalface of the business. You just need to coach and mentor them to tease all the information out. Now, can you tell me how many of you have manuals that are 100% text-based, mostly text, mostly visual, and does anyone have an 100% visual manual with visual content? Could you put that in the text? It would be very interesting to hear. Now, today we have a problem because we have businesses with a multi-generational workforce. By next year, we will have something like 5 generations in the workplace. And this includes traditionalists, baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Generation Z. And very soon we'll have upcoming Alpha. The increasing longevity of the workforce and the trend of older employees delays retirement, and it contributes to this multi-generational dynamic. Increasingly, businesses will need to adapt their practices to accommodate diverse perspectives and work styles, fostering an inclusive environment that values contributions from all age groups. Emphasizing diversity, equity, and inclusion will be crucial in managing this generational mix effectively. In a franchise with a large network or a business with multiple branches or outlets, consistency is the key. Now, to get consistency, we need a single source of truth. Say we use Pareto's law and assume that 20% of trainers are highly effective, but 80% deliver a mediocre experience. I know that's not necessarily true in the real world, but it's just as an example. So we don't get consistency, the uniformity so vital for faithfully replicating a business system. The generational divide is a significant issue facing many organizations and communities today, but there are important differences between younger and older generations when it comes to values, communication styles, and work preferences. Understanding these differences is crucial for fostering collaboration, improving workplace dynamics, and meeting the needs of diverse stakeholders. So, the latest statistics, the global workforce is undergoing a significant demographic shift, with 30% projected to be under 30 years old by 2025. This is largely driven by the rise of Generation Z, or Generation Z, who are expected to make up 27% of the workforce in OECD countries. That is a significant number. This younger generation will bring new expectations, priorities, and ways of working that businesses will need to adapt to in order to remain successful. Understanding the needs and preferences of this emerging workforce will be crucial for the future of the franchising industry and other industries. The changing demographics of the global workforce will heavily shape the future of business, and we must be prepared to evolve to meet the demands of this younger generation. They won't read dull, text-heavy operations manuals, so there won't be any return on an investment there. For the first time, we've got the 5 generations, and then we've got the different learning styles, all with different reasons for wanting to. We have many different reasons that we need to employ so that we can reach the learning styles and engagement necessary to get everybody on the same page. So we're now talking about the younger generation, who are the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok generation. So we need to enhance engagement through effective knowledge sharing practices. We must connect across generational and cultural gaps in modern organizations, and we need to foster an environment of growth and development within teams. We've also got to create a culture where team members are empowered to contribute. So it's time to empower teams to create a manual for them and by them. So how do we do this? We do this through knowledge sharing in a dynamic way. And it will help in particular, it will help new team members get up to speed quickly and ensure critical information isn't lost when experienced employees leave the organisation. By involving the team in the creation of the manual, we can foster a sense of ownership and accountability for keeping it fresh and up to date. It's time to create a manual for the workforce, but by your employees. Consider how we can leverage the collective knowledge and expertise of the workforce to create an impactful manual. So there are 8 ways to make engaging manuals. First, we can transform the manual into an interactive digital platform with searchable content, clickable navigation, and multimedia elements. This makes it easier for employees to find and digest information quickly. Then we use a variety of media types to present information, including infographics, photos, videos, and even interactive animations. This caters for different learning styles and makes complex procedures more accessible. Then we need to break down content into bite size, in other words, tube type, easily digestible chunks that employees can quickly consume and apply. This approach is particularly effective for younger workforce members who prefer instant access to information. Introduce game-like features such as quizzes, challenges, or progress tracking to make learning and referencing the manual more engaging and fun. Encourage employees to contribute their own tips, best practices, and real-world examples to the manual. This fosters a sense of ownership and keeps the content relevant and up to date. Also, use real-life scenarios, case studies, or storytelling techniques to illustrate how procedures and policies apply in practical situations. This helps employees relate to the content more easily. And I suggest it just makes the whole process of using an operations manual far more interesting and engaging. So if we take a part of my book, central to it is central to Manual Magic is my fictional franchise. It's set in Patisserie Penelope, which is my full name. And here, the operations manual starts life as a dull, text-heavy manual that nobody reads, gathering dust on a shelf. It's transformed into a knowledge-sharing environment where everyone is empowered to create a digital version held on a dynamic knowledge-sharing platform. The manual is tailored for the team and created by the team members themselves. This ensures it's relevant and useful for their specific needs. This image shows two members collaborating. It represents the inclusive and participatory approach we want to encourage. So we have Mary, who is testing out a process and then capturing it on a smartphone. So the goal is to give teams the tools and resources to document their processes, best practices, and know-how in a comprehensive show, don't tell digital format. This will help new team members get up to speed quickly and ensure critical information isn't lost when experienced employees leave the organisation. By involving the team in the creation of the manual, we can foster a sense of ownership and accountability for keeping it up to date. Further, team members are encouraged to suggest how to run the business more effectively if taken up by management as best practice and rolled out across the network. The top suggestions are announced at the annual conference in the best practice contribution category. The manager and their team member will be recognised and rewarded. So this shows that Mary, a team member, had been one of the top performing members of staff for only a few months when she approached her franchise manager and said, "I've noticed that Sam, our apprentice kitchen hand, keeps forgetting to take the butter out of the fridge before using it to make the Victoria sponges. We both know that if butter is too cold, the sugar can't penetrate and air pockets can't form. This results in uneven bakes. Cold butter is also hopeless for making buttercream frosting." So she then puts the butter in the microwave, which makes it too warm and liquid. Using it also ruins the cakes and leads to wastage because they are dense and uneven. They shouldn't be offered for sale. When they are, the business gets complaints, so we need to start the batch again. On average, the business is spoiling one batch in 20 every month. So Mary had worked out that to avoid this, the butter needed to be taken out of the fridge 2 hours in advance. However, when that wasn't possible, she had also figured out the best, quickest and most effective way to soften 1 kilo of butter at a time for making the cakes or the buttercream frosting using the microwave. Her franchise manager encouraged Mary to use her smartphone to make the video clip for each stage of the butter softening process, starring Sam and making sure not to record his face or any identifying characteristics. They didn't need to write and memorize a script because they wouldn't be adding a voiceover. Then it was a simple process of adding short text to the video clips, or which can actually be translated into any language using AI. Mary created the accompanying text by typing out the steps to match each video clip. Creating this instruction took about 45 minutes with only one retake to record the 30 video snippets needed and to add the accompanying text onto the online instructions editor using her smartphone. With her manager's approval, this instruction was shared with head office, and there she is putting it on the computer and being able to access the information when she needed it at the point of need, because it was all transferred as a QR code. And there's Mary getting her reward. So QR codes are absolutely fantastic as a means of quick and easy way for team members to access content or information. Simply, they just opened their smartphone camera, pointed at the QR code, placed strategically, for example, on a machine or a tool. It could be on the coffee machine for a barista. This will instantly take them to a web page document or other digital content on a dynamic knowledge sharing platform. The QR code acts as a bridge, allowing the audience to seamlessly transition to the relevant content. This is instant access, and it can enhance the experience and make everything more engaging and informative. This example, if you take your smartphone, open the camera and capture it, it will show you how this step-by-step process happens. You can actually select the language you want, and whether it's a voiceover or caption, and it's generated with AI. So if you want to take a moment to have a look at that before I go on to the next slide, and let me know what you find and whether you find it engaging. It should be a very intuitive and user-friendly way of doing things.
That's amazing. I'm just looking at it on my phone now, Penny. It looks great. Great. That's so smart. Fantastic. Wet your hands with water. Yes, that's a good starting point.
I mean, this was originally done for the pandemic.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yes.
But in any patisserie, for example, or anywhere where you're dealing with food, obviously washing hands is absolutely essential. And this is an extremely nifty way. You just put this by one of the sinks or in any other appropriate place to wash, wash basins. And also, of course, in the restrooms, in the cloakrooms. It's absolutely fantastic. You just literally captured that, or any process, and you see literally a bite by bite representation of a process, and it couldn't be simpler. So the third way is how to share knowledge. And most of us, I think, are familiar with the basic digital manual, cloud-based for sharing information. You do it on SharePoint, Dropbox, It's getting much more sophisticated than it was, and it's ideal as a starting point for a business who just wants to start testing out their operations manual, because you can develop the structure, as I had in the structure and content slide, those main categories, and under it you can have all the information. But this will largely be text-based. Then we can move to stage 2, which is the formal knowledge management center, such as an intranet or a portal. And there's one that's the Knowledge Management Center to better organize and distribute knowledge resources. Can be the Ops portal, which has been created by Louise Harris, one of my colleagues in franchising. She's got a very user-friendly portal where you can upload videos as well as text. But the final one, the stage 3, is for the more sophisticated and mature networks. I would say that you probably need something in the region of between 10, 15 franchises, branches, or outlets to make it viable. But this was I collaborated with Yoram Rademacher, founder and CEO of award-winning Manual 2 platform. And if you want to either use the link or get straight through to www.manual.to, you can see how this also works in practice. There are a lot of examples on the site. It's very, very effective for collaboration and learning. But each stage builds on the previous one, allowing us to steadily enhance the knowledge sharing capability. The goal ultimately is to create a robust, integrated environment that empowers teams to access and apply critical knowledge. So, what about the results? Using the Manual 2 dynamic knowledge sharing platform, a steel factory achieved a remarkable milestone: 0 accidents, the first among 10 globally. This was accomplished by making best practice task information readily available, enabling new workers to perform correctly without additional support. In another case, a burn incident on day 1 due to improper fryer handling was addressed. The implementation of QR codes linking to video instructions in native languages resulted in a 50% reduction in major workplace incidents, and businesses report more than 10 times more usage of safety instructions using the knowledge sharing platform compared to traditional paper manuals. In other words, people simply don't read those manuals, and if by this time next year 30% of the workforce is under 30 and they are the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok generation, then 30% of the people won't be replicating the system effectively. So improving safety is also closely tied to speed at which people are brought up to date. And with a knowledge sharing platform, a dynamic one, this time typically is cut in half immediately, impacting the number of incidents that occur. So we have 80% decrease in training time, 75% increase in speed to create new manuals, 60% reduction in machine downtime. So, what are the key takeaways? The main one is that outdated manuals can increase risk and disengage employees, while dynamic ones with engaging formats can improve team involvement, reduce incidents and accidents, cut wastage, and boost staff retention. The Manual Magic Blueprint provides a framework for creating efficient multi-generational knowledge sharing across an organization. We just need to engage our teams to bring it all to life. So, thank you very much for your time today, and I look forward to connecting you on LinkedIn if we haven't already done so, and to continuing the conversation with a free 30-minute strategy call if you'd like to do that. Just connect and DM me on LinkedIn and we'll arrange that. The QR code we'll post in a moment gives you access to my small library of tools and resources on the Manual 2 platform. It also has information on services that you might find useful, such as the Ops portal, which is Louise's, and a whole host of other things. So now for any questions if you have them.
Penny, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. That was absolutely fascinating. I just want to say that I'm afraid that neither McCarraher or I are able to put your QR code in the chat. It won't reproduce. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know how we can deal with that.
Let me see if I can fiddle about and find
Um,
it.
you'll need to
Um,
take a screen grab of it.
Yeah.
yes.
Sorry, if you take a screen grab of it, you can share the image in chat. Usually, you can
Right.
actually add an image.
Right. What I'll try. I'll end the presentation. If I end that and get.
Let me try. If you just show that slide.
I think it's a different slide, a different
It
QR
is.
code we're talking about.
Will be.
But
It will be.
let me
The
try.
hand washing one, or
It keeps just saying unable to send file due to admin restrictions, which I don't know what they are.
Yes.
okay.
I'll find another way. Hopefully, you can't see me fiddling about on the screen.
Well, we
We
kind of can,
can.
Penny, but
Oh, you can.
we can. You're still sharing your screen, so we can.
Right. Let me stop sharing for a minute.
Okay. In the meantime,
Right.
you do that. I'm just going to run through. There are some very interesting comments here. So we have a few. Paula said she found that trying to put a manual together was difficult, and Karen says yes, she did and hated it. But Karen hosts her manual on Google Sites because it's really easy to update that way. Helen's manual is paper-based currently. Paula's is just coming into digital now. Melanie's is on Google Workspace. Karen's is on Google Site. Jill's is digital. And I said that ours at Rethink Press is in Notion, so digital. So Joe Caruso tells us that while franchising is immensely popular in the US, there is no requirement beyond an operations manual table of contents for the franchise disclosure document. In the US, there is no duty of care. You may already know that, Penny.
Yes, and I think it is the key difference between the US and here. I mean, Joe and I have been on many a panel, or
Right.
many a LinkedIn event together, and yes, it's a sad thing that we can't really sort of put that in stone.
Yeah. So Joe also says that he has 4,000 franchises in North America with 200 to 300 new franchises launching each year with excellent franchise business model with attendant operations manuals. That is not the rule, so that's great. When you asked whose manuals were text and whose were image, Paula's was a blend, Sapna's would be visual and imagery. Ours at Rethink Press is mostly text, I think, at the moment. Jill's is a mixture of all. Helen's is currently text, but plans to incorporate visuals shortly, as several viewers are dyslexic, which is a really important point.
Yes.
And yes, Lisa says her Gen Z, whichever it is, daughter has been trying to work for her traditionalist dad. So yes, kind of she's had to be translator and referee. So lots of interesting content here. Yeah, I mean, Joe says again, most people will not read a text-heavy manual. They will ask the person next to them how to do it or YouTube it, as Sapna says. So yes, that's I think that's
So there's a complete mix, which is very good.
yes. And Michaela says we can email all attendees the QR code.
So I have now got it.
Oh, brilliant. Well done.
Put it into and hopefully
Are you going to
this,
put it on the screen?
yes, hopefully,
Okay.
if I all right, so hopefully this will work.
I'll just stick it in as a link. I've just clicked on the code and from Penny's book. I'll stick it in the chat as a link as well.
There we go.
Well, it's on the screen. I don't know if have you been able to put it in the chat, Paula, because it's not letting me or Michaela put it in the chat at all.
Yeah, it's just I clicked on it and then got the link of what I clicked on.
Can you see it on the screen?
I can see it on screen. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So when everybody's got it, if anybody wants to ask Penny any questions, do put your hand up. Yeah, it's worked perfectly on the screen. Yes, Michaela says, thanks, Penny. That's
Great.
wonderful. So I imagine everybody's got it now. So you can stop sharing if you'd like to, or not. So has anybody got a question or a comment or for Penny?
I just wanted to say thank you. I've got a bit more of an insight into the world of manuals, and it's given me a lot of food for thought in terms of potentially designing them for other people as well. Yeah, the idea of like incorporating video in there is really interesting as well. And insane chat. We talked about the 5 different generations. I think that's just insane, isn't it? The breadth of how we've got to communicate to all these different people and their different ages and different ways of learning. Thank you.
So Paula, you've got your hand up. Thank you, Sapna.
Yeah, fabulous presentation, Penny. Thank you so much. I'm lucky enough to have one of your signed copies of this, and you go into some more detail in the presentation. But I've got to say, I mean, I've got so many side notes in the margins of the book, and what the book is so clear and easy to understand. So I think you've kind of articulated it beautifully, and the fact that you've kind of gone through such a huge process in your personal development with this, and we're then at the end of this having a very easy summarized option for 5 generations in a workplace, and you're keeping it so nimble. I mean, I know you as a friend as well, and I feel very blessed because I'm in the midst of trying to digitize a very big analog operation, and our phone calls and conversations have been invaluable. So I think if anyone hasn't got your book already, I highly recommend it. It's a real asset, and it's a game changer for people. And I think, like you say, using the franchise operation as a model is fantastic. So thank you, and thank you for such a clear presentation. And I've got some really good takeaways. And as you know, I've got a few business partners that I'm wanting to get your way so we can share this as well. So there's no questions. You've covered everything, and I've read your book. So yeah, thank you.
Emma Jane says no questions, but thanks so much for the insight. And Simon says some great takeaways. So I think, yes, that was incredibly clear and detailed and really, really inspiring and helpful, Penny.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, it's been a wonderful opportunity to share this, because I absolutely, I mean, franchising is just such a wonderful business model, but it's easily translatable and customizable for any other type of business. And Lucy, I think you know that I'm planning to have I'm planning to produce another book, this time not on franchising specifically, but tailored to business in general. We go, that's the goal for 2025. So it won't be just a book that looks at franchising specifically.
There's one last question from Lisa, who says, how do you actually get your team to use a manual?
Well, I think if they produce the content, then they're much more likely to use it. The peer-to-peer engagement is so fundamental, because what happens today is that mostly it's top down. Now, when you've got generations who are used to watching their peers create Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, they're not going to really respond to videos or information that is provided from a disembodied person at head office.
Yes.
So if they are involved in the creation, if they have the incentive of, let's say, an Amazon voucher, to propose something that will lead to less wastage, fewer incidents and accidents, and greater staff retention, and then they go forward to being the employee of the year who has the best suggestion, and they also get something to acknowledge that amazing milestone, and the office receives, let's say, some special training that they would like free of charge, everybody wins. So everybody gets engaged to see how they can move the business forward. And also, today, as I think we all know, employees choose the company they work for. They want a shared vision. It's not all about the salary. It's not all about how much money they're going to earn. It's more about what kind of satisfaction can they grow with the business? What can they get from that business that will make them feel valued? And I think instead of being thrown a manual and, here it is, get on with it, if you're part of something, if you know that you're making a valuable contribution, I think that will make all the difference, Lisa.
So what would you do with a new person who's joined the team? I don't have any employees. I only have contractors. So how would you get that? Like I've shown them where it is, and we do largely get the team member to write their section of the SOP. and they're like in charge of keeping it up to date. But it's just getting them all to refer to each other's and actually use it. It's like if you've got somebody who, something as simple as setting up a Zoom call, for example, there's a zillion different ways you can do it. And we had someone do it catastrophically. Well, it was just wrong for the event and caused a lot of confusion. And it's like, there's a SOP, and it's like, is there?
Yes, but the problem is, if it's not visual, they won't use it.
Okay, so how do you make it visual?
Well, the Manual 2, I think, is one of the few knowledge sharing platforms that is dynamic. And you just shoot something with your smartphone and put it up on the platform for everybody to share.
And it's called Manual 2.
It's www.manual.2.
Great. I'll have a look at that.
It's usually for the larger networks,
Yeah.
but you'll see through the QR code and going into my my library of tools and resources how it's organized. And if you go to the hand washing, I mean, there may be some way that you can portray that just as a simple, without anybody's faces involved, just hands doing the operation, a simple process. Just capture it with a smartphone.
Okay. Alrighty, thank you.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Penny, so much. We've just come up to the hour, so brilliant timing. Thank you so much for being here, Penny Hopkinson. And I'm sure lots of people will be in touch with you to find out more about your amazing process. So goodbye, everyone, and see you next time.
Thank you very much indeed for coming. Really enjoyed your questions and everything.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.